आप लोगों को आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
हाँ जी आ रही है जी सर।
जी सर आ रही है सर।
आपकी आवाज आ रही है?
हेलो
जी सर आ रही है आपकी आवाज।
वंडरफुल।
वेलकम सर।
डॉक्टर साहब जी आपने सुनो दिया है
अंदर सर।
चारों लोग नहीं हैं, दूर बैठना पड़ेगा। कितने लोग हैं लगभग कितने लोग हैं? अभी तो सब 40। चलो अब शुरू होने डॉक्टर। नहीं हल्दा सर नहीं है। हल्दा साहब बताओ।
अच्छा सर।
अभी ये मुझे जब आप लोग शुरू कर रहे हैं।
अभी सर लोग बोलेंगे तो उसके लिए थोड़ा ये आगे ही रखना पड़ेगा। हिलाना में ज़्यादा मोबाइल सेट है। हम लोगों में अभी तो आवाज़ म्यूट होगी। हाँ सर। यूट्यूब पे म्यूट नहीं है, वो चल रही है।
डॉक्टर राघव कुछ दे?
बस सर शुरू करने वाले हैं। डॉक्टर ए एल हल्दर सर।
वो आन जा नहीं रही है।
डॉक्टर राघव कुछ अभी टाइम लगेगा
सर। हेलो
सर वो हल्दर सर का वेट कर रहे थे सर।
हल्दर सर का वेट कर रहे हैं। बस सर 2-3 मिनट में शुरू करना है। आगे हाँ बस सर शुरू करें। नमस्कार। On behalf of Indian Remote Sensing Application Center and Indian Society of Remote Sensing Lucknow chapter, myself Dr. MS Yadav, heartiest welcome to Dr. Saranam Singh, Director, All India Institute of Medical Science Bhopal, and Chief Guest Shri A.K. Agarwal Sahab, Director, RSAC UP, and Dr. A.L. Haldar, Chairman, Indian Society of Remote Sensing Lucknow chapter, and all the honorable audience. Today is very important lecture on COVID-19 delivered by the Dr. Saranam Singh, Director, AIIMS Bhopal, well-renowned personality in the medical science. So I request to Dr. A.L. Haldar, Chairman of the Indian Society of Remote Sensing Lucknow chapter, to deliver the welcome address. Please, Dr. A.L. Haldar sir. Haldar sir. म्यूट है।
अनम्यूट करिए।
हाँ अनम्यूट हो। हल्दर
हेलो।
हाँ यस सर।
हेलो
सर।
आ रही है आवाज सर।
Is audible?
Yes sir. Audible. Please give welcome address.
Okay. Afternoon everybody. And it is our privilege that get Professor Saranam Singh, the Director, AIIMS Bhopal, he has kindly agreed a proposal that to have a webinar this topic. So days back, I was there in IIM Delhi, get a chance from the Professor Saranam Singh in his as a panelist. He has given a lot of talk discussing this COVID. So thereafter I was impressed, then I have requested him. So he was kindly agreed for this. This is our society, this Indian Society of Remote Sensing, in collaboration with this Remote Sensing Application Center. Time to time, we are organizing different scientific lectures. This series. So today we are having Sir Saranam Singh is the sir and head in AIIMS Bhopal. And he was the divisional of this microbiology and molecular medicine. So he is having He's the one of the warrior. He has done tremendous service. So you know how much role and how much he has developed for the patient and the country safe and to keep the patient early. And he has seen a lot of ups and downs during that period. So now the all the citizens of India, they are suffering in this pandemic, or the second wave is going on. In the second wave, a lot of casualties are taken place, and especially the old age people are having morbidities. They have suffered a lot, and even in this stage or in this stage, the children they have got suffered. They have also suffered. So now, this especially in India, a lot of things in mucormycosis, that is black fungus, white fungus, and grey fungus, so currently going on. And also, is we are hearing that again, third phase may be active shortly. So a lot of panic is there. Yes, the people are taking a lot of precaution. This panic is serious. Still, the casualties are happening. So the vaccination is going on in India. So recently, Prime Minister of India, he told that from 21st onwards, each and every person get free vaccine, and everybody will be vaccinated shortly, and large scale this vaccination drive will be. So what I hope, at least people will get a chance, everybody have their vaccine. Now, so this pandemic period, a great opportunity, have some awareness among us, among the people. So that's why it will be eagerly waiting here, Professor Saranam Singh. It is a salute, sir. So for his given the proper schedule some time now, so he should.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. A. Haldar sir.
Dr. Ramesh, please carry on.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. A. Haldar sir. Now I request to Sri A.K. Agarwal sir, Director, our Chief Guest, RSET UP, for the opening remarks about the lecture. Sri A.K. Agarwal sir, please sir.
Good evening, Dr. Saranam Singh, Dr. Haldar, Dr. Alok Mathur, and my colleagues there, Dr. Yadav, and everybody is welcome on this stage. I welcome Dr. Saranam on behalf of the Remote Sensing Application Center, which is our indeed pleasure that he has accepted our request on such a short notice. And really, we need a clarification from the COVID-19 waves. You know that UP has suffered a lot, and really a lot of news and WhatsApp and email, a lot of confusion, but everything is there. I understand that you are the right person to speak on this subject because your talk is also being forwarded to entire our staff in the office and project staff in the office. I have circulated this invitation to members, not members even, but even those who are not a member of the society, entire staff of the Social Center. So I think around 100 people so far are listening your talk, and it is a very interesting, I hope, and I know that you are the right person to speak on this subject. I won't take much time. I will really waiting to listen to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I am giving the brief introduction of Dr. Saranam Singh. He is really wonderful personality. And
by the way, I am not a Punjabi, so my name is not Saranam Singh. That is also good name, but my name is Saranam Singh.
Saranam Singh. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Thank you, sir, for correction. Saranam Singh. So, Dr. Saranam Singh is presently Director and Chief Executive Officer of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Bhopal, and had worked at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, for 13 years in various faculty positions. Professor Singh is fellow of more than 7 national and international academies, including Royal College of Pathologists and Royal Society of Chemists, and member of more than 20 national and international scientific bodies. Dr. Saranam Singh has been awarded around 23 awards by several national and international scientific academies bodies for his outstanding contribution. Dr. Singh has guided 20 PhDs, 60 MDs, and more than 40 MSc students. He has written 6 books, 46 chapters, and more than 325 research papers. This has been listed in the top 2% of the world scientists microbiology. Sir, you have done really wonderful job in the field of medical science. Now, this is your brief introduction. I am request to Dr. Saranam Singh. Please start your lecture, sir. You are most welcome, sir. And we are very much indebted for you for giving you lectures. Dr. Sir, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now I would like to share a screen. Okay. Now I think somebody has stopped earlier. It was sharing now, so you need to give me the rights to share the screen.
Just a minute. Permission.
Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My first slide.
Next.
Can you see?
Pin kar do.
Yes, sir.
All right, wonderful. So, thank you very much once again, Haldar Saab, Agarwal Saab, and other senior members of the Remote Sensing Society. Basically, I am also from, I did my MBBS from Lucknow, and therefore, invitation came from Lucknow. I could not say no for that for obvious reasons. So always I feel like, my hometown, and otherwise also I am from UP. So that's what always I feel that it is my duty, and I like to pay back to my state. So I have given because, having alpha, beta, gamma, and delta families, subfamilies. So here that in the beta family, if you can see at this right side, is 2019 novel coronavirus. Of course, this has been given the new name SARS-CoV-2. So these are the various members, and in sense, its RNA can replicate on its own one side once it is inside the cells, transferring its genetic material and transcribing to the DNA. So that is very, very important. And this positive strain RNA viruses, they encode for RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. So one enzyme is very important. So that helps to convert the RNA into DNA, and then obviously new virions or what we call new viruses, they are generated in the body. So as I mentioned that most of the coronaviruses, they come from various animals. If we see the SARS coronavirus, or what we call SARS-1 was earlier, which some of you might be knowing that that was known about in 2012, 2003 and 4. And then another virus came that was known as MERS, Middle East Severe Respiratory Virus. So that was, detected in camels, but again, that also came from the wild animals. And this virus is known to, is claimed to be, rather, I would say, because yesterday itself, I'm sure that you might have heard a story that, but basically the Chinese scientists, they say that it came from bats to pangolin, and pangolin is an animal which usually Chinese, they eat with, very, having fantasy in eating this kind of animals. But there is another theory which I'm sure that, you are aware of, that the American and many other scientists, they are saying that it was actually lab generated, not came from the animals. Whatsoever it is, because, that is not my, and, prerogative to, but definitely both the hypotheses they are going on. One is natural infection from bat and then pangolin and then humans. And the another theory is going on that, it was a laboratory generated and they were probably trying to generate new virion, and then during this transformation, the mutated virus it escaped from the laboratory and then it created this havoc. So irrespective of that, this is important that how to understand that what are the eating habits in China. I don't know, some of you might have visited China. I have never visited the Chinese vegetable or meat market, but this is the situation. You can imagine anything can happen. This is so dirty looking, I would say. For them, they enjoy this kind of food, but you can see in these markets every wild animal. You can have the dogs, you can have snakes, you can have bats, you can have pangolin, you can have turtles, you can have any snakes, everything is there. So they eat each and everything. So this is the some scenes from that market, Wuhan market. So this can happen obviously once it is there. So from one animal they are, because they are contiguous, they are handling the meat. So from one person to another, but from one carcass of the one animal, it can go to the handler, and from one handler to another. So it can obviously anytime it can cause havoc. So this is the situation. But naturally, when we all know that why, that's the reason that this is the name is given COVID-19, because basically it started the first few cases. They were detected or they died in November, and then finally they were labeled as disease in December 2019, and after that the name to disease was given COVID-19, that is coronavirus infection disease 2019. So COVID-19 is the disease, and the virus which causes this disease is known as severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, that is SARS-CoV-2. So this is the standard nomenclature out of that. This is the old slide, which obviously I don't want to give detail, but basically this is important to understand that how all coronaviruses for that matter, because most of these coronaviruses they infect lungs. So respiratory route is the major route they take, and any virus or bacteria for that matter, if it is a respiratory virus or respiratory bacteria, then obviously the mode of infection is also through the breath or sneezing. So here we can see that even if you are talking, you are excreting thousands and thousands of viruses. But if you are coughing or sneezing, then millions of the viruses, they come out from the droplets, and these droplets, they depend, I am sure that these theories also you might have heard, that droplets are usually bigger than 5 micron, and then if they are dried up, then they become smaller than they are aerosol or fomites, what we call. So the longer, the bigger the size, obviously they will not travel longer. You can see here that some of these, next slide probably that will appreciate. So bigger the droplets, they will with the gravitational force, they will come down, but those are less than 5 micron, they will travel a long way. And that's the reason usually most of the droplets, they will drop down in around 6 feet to 9 feet. So that's the reason that what we call it 2 gaj ki duri. But it depends, many factors are there. So if the person has coughed or sneezed very vigorously, then it can go several meters, because sometimes I'm sure that some of you might be coughing so vigorously, and some of the sneezes you can they are really very vigorous. So it depends on whether you have used the handkerchief or not, and what kind of vigorosity of the sneezing is there. So various factors are there, and then on top of that, the dynamics of the air, that is also very, very important. If the air is flowing opposite to you, then obviously the chances of getting infected are more in a person who is behind you. And if the air is opposite side, means from your backside, then obviously the person who is in front of you, he will get more chances of getting infected. So various, the combination factors are important, but nevertheless, if you presume that there is no air flow and the person is not sneezing and not coughing, and then just talking, infected person just talking, then it will travel up to about 2 meters, about 6 feet. But as I said, it will depend. It can go up to 10 meters. It can go even the few less than 1 feet, depending on the air dynamics and force of the sneezing or coughing like that. So all these things you are scientists, so you can understand. But layman, sometimes it becomes a little difficult to make them understand. Now, various barriers are used, and there a lot of studies have been done, and that is the reason that ultimately it was found that various kinds of fabrics they act differently, and therefore it has been found that N95 mask, that is the most effective method, and here that is about 91% protection it gives, and so is hand washing and mask plus gloves and gown combined. So obviously the maximum limit is about 90 to 95 maximum, maybe if you combine more than two things. But usually if you are having L mask and N95 alone, then also you can have 91% protection. Other protections are little less. And then if you are having the double mask, then usually the single mask has about 68% protection. But if you are combining with another mask, then this rate can go almost 95 to 98%. And that's the reason most of the times we also advise that to achieve 100% protection, you should also have cloth mask and N95 mask then to achieve about 100% protection. Nevertheless, you must also adopt the physical distance and the hand hygiene. So now, we discussed that how it transmits from one person to another, means infected to uninfected, through respiratory route, and then obviously it goes to our body, nasal cavity. Now, once it is inside, so you have, say, for example, somebody infected, sneezed or coughed or talked in front of you, and you were having no mask, so you are vulnerable to get the infection, and you got this infection. So your nose is full of the virus. You got donated from your colleague who is infected, and now after our nose is having a lot of epithelium. So what the red skin or the mucosa, what we call our eyes, we have the red soft skin, what we say mucosa. So is our lips and inside mouth, and so is our nose. So these what we call mucosal layers, and so are vagina and anus. So all the inner part of the body parts, they are lined up with the mucosal mucosa, and these are different types of cells. And these epithelial cells, they are very rich in receptors. So what we call ACE2, ACE receptors, and these ACE receptors are very, very important for the spike protein of the virus to get attached. So here in this picture, if you can see that it can come, and then the receptors are here, and these, so these receptors, they will come here, these receptors are here, you can see these receptors, and then this spike protein will attach here, and then with the help of that, this virus will come into inside, and then viral RNA will get released, and then with the help of the RDRP, that is the polymerase enzyme, this will transform into new virions or a new viral genome. So it will multiply, and then again, with the help of translation mechanism, this will cover with the protein, and this protein will make another virus. So it will come out like that. So it will go like that. It will go one virus, and it will, thousands of the viruses will come out from the one cell. So this is a multiplication, how it happens. And then, of course, once it has multiplied, so it means the infection has taken place, and then our body tries to overcome. If we are having antibodies, then obviously most of the times, about 50 to 60% of the patients, if they have got very little or comparatively less dose of the virus, if our antibodies are sufficient enough in our body, our system will take care, and then we will not get sick. But if our body is not having antibody at all, or the load of the virus is too huge, then obviously even if these antibodies are there, they will not be able to cope with the load. So that becomes very, very important to understand that even if you are vaccinated or you had the infection earlier, but if the antibody level was not sufficient enough, and that to neutralizing antibodies, then if the infection from a new person, you have got a huge load of the virus, then the antibodies which you have, they will not be sufficient to neutralize the huge load of the virus, which otherwise, if you were having less viral load, then they could have taken care. And therefore, it is very, very important that even if you are talking or you know somebody in your family that he or she is infected, even then you must wear a mask. That the mask, even if you will get infected, but the mask will take care. Even the single cloth, or what we call usually 2 layers, 3 layers. That is the simplest surgical mask. So even that will reduce some amount. So it will be always better the mask, because the viral load it will reduce at all. If you are having N95, which is usually advised to healthcare workers and those who are caring a known family member, then N95 is always advisable, and that too you should have double mask. So once the antibody, as I said, antibodies are there, and then so if presume that there are no antibodies, the person has neither got the vaccine earlier nor he was infected. So obviously this person will not have any antibodies. So in that case, what will happen? Usually after 3 to 4 days, here in this graph you can see, about 1/5 person, they will have some amount of antibodies on about 4th to 5th day. And then usually after 7th day onward, you will find little, significant amount of the antibodies. And usually by the time the virus, the infection is gone, or you have recovered from the disease, then you will have antibodies. So you can see about 3 weeks, that about 20 to 21 days of the infection, you will have actually the antibodies. So this infection will give you the choice to your body to develop antibodies, but these antibodies will take about 21 days, 20 to 21 days to develop. On the contrary, if you see the PCR, which is light yellow color, because it is a molecular test, so molecular test will come positive. Usually it comes next day, within 24 hours to 48 hours, it can come positive. And usually the diagnostic value of the PCR will remain up to 10th day. And after 10th day, usually the viral RNA, which is residual viral RNA, that can be detected by PCR, but that may not be of significance. And that's the reason that CDC, which is the biggest organization in the USA, who deals with the infectious diseases and advises the government of USA, they said that after this was previous when mutation was not there. So many of the things, they have changed in the second wave. So in the first wave, they said that once the person has recovered or the infection has past 10th day, usually these persons, they will not be infectious and they can join their duties. Of course, in second wave, some of the things they have changed. So now various antibodies, how they appear, as I have already mentioned. So the once if you see the onset, so first it's IgG, IgM, and then IgG, and then they will disappear, but IgG will remain. And for that reason, you might be remembering that very poor sensitivity of the antigen test, antibody test in the last year in April, May. Many companies they started rapid test for antibodies, and therefore, based on these studies, the Indian Council of Medical Research they advise that antibody tests they are of no use for the diagnosis because the antibody will develop only after 2 to 3 weeks of the infection. By that time, person is already recovered or whatsoever fate ultimate has happened. So therefore, the WHO also advised that the antibody-based tests they have no role at all. And then, of course, for real-time PCR, or these days, rapid antigen test has also come in the second wave. For that, the nasal swab or the oral swab is taken. Best is nasal swab, but oral swab is also all right. And then, of course, you have to gear up. The hospital system has to. I am sure that everybody knows. So, what the second wave created, and we were probably not prepared enough to handle this kind of epidemic. The second wave, which occurred, and all around the India image of India, unfortunately, they were so unfortunate and unpleasant and all kind of things. But most important thing is that the panic was so much that many of the those who were well-to-do they started coming to hospital, even if their oxygen level was 97 or 96%. On the contrary, some of the patients they were not having the oxygen support or the oxygen beds, even if their oxygen supply was oxygen SpO2, what we say, was 87 or 88%. So this is the cutoff. Usually 93% of the SpO2 is important, and therefore we always advise that you should have the oximeter at your home. So when the oxygen is more than 94%, you should be relaxed. And but if your oxygen level comes below 93%, then obviously it is a matter of concern, and immediately you should look for the nearest oxygen bed. But of course, we all know that how the situation became, and then everything was not available. So these were the ideal situations, but in the second wave, no ideal situation was there. Even the patient, they were roaming around, their oxygen level was 70, 60, but they were trying to survive, but they could not survive. So those were, very, we all want to forget those very, bad days of April and first fortnight of the May. And this is unfortunate because, even all scientists, we knew it. And from the experience of Brazil, USA, Europe, and United Kingdom, that second wave will come. But I don't want to make any strong statement, but unfortunately, some of our, big authorities, they also started saying that, we have conquered Corona. Unfortunately, that, that led to the second wave. But I am again sorry that, yesterday, reading some of these statements, again, some people, they have started saying that we managed Corona and we have, conquered, the Corona, which is probably a little, knowing the little of the disease. I know that still it is too early to say anything. So these are the figures which we were knowing, and we have been all experts. We were saying that, all these countries, South Africa, remaining Africa, and Morocco, Europe, USA, I gave the examples. So we were knowing that in India also this is going to come. So we know that September was peak, and then obviously everybody was so complacent and we had, the Kumbh Mela, we had all marriages, we have all election rallies in the January, February, and up to even March. And then we all know that what happened in, April onward. So we did say that obviously the corona second wave was more dangerous than the first one, and we know for sure that there was the most important factor for this was that number one, because the mutant UK variant, what we call, that came, which was highly infectious, and we were not prepared for that. And we were not having the sufficient beds, we were not having the oxygen supply. So all these things, they were there, and because it was highly infectious, so the graph went up like anything. And I think this gives us lessons to learn that how we should remain prepared for this kind of all disasters situations. And these could be not only the natural calamities but also biological calamities. So this is probably the corona, a small virus, has exposed, I would say, that all superpowers, also not only India but even the superpower. And therefore we have opinion that probably lockdown was the only solution. And sometimes people like me were of the opinion that lockdown must be implemented, and some very much in of the state chief ministers, they agreed finally. The reason was that we know we are Indians, so we know our population best. Nobody will know our people best. And again, we are so our memories are so short-lived. We are so I would say that forgetful. We have just forgotten that what kind of situation we have just not even 1 month back. And now again इसको I would say बेसरमी इसको कहेंगे कि suddenly again people in last 2 days immediately after lockdown was open, so people have again started that. And sometimes as a doctor I can't say, but as a citizen I feel like that these people Indians as a doctor I cannot say, but sometimes you feel really bad that probably they deserved it. So then obviously then all the states, Maharashtra started the UK variant came first in was noticed in UK, and then entire country, and then we noticed that we also did genome sequencing, and we found that even some of our samples which were collected in February month of this year from the interiors of the Madhya Pradesh, they were also having the up to 45% of the strains or the samples were positive for UK strain. So by December it came, and by within 2 months you can imagine that it was so highly infectious that it made to the entire country. That was the reason. So obviously the second wave, I always say that obviously the major reasons were human behavior, protocol, compliance, fatigue was there. Of course, many people they say, but I don't agree with that. Nevertheless, the government policies also they were relaxed, and then because of the economic revival, so compulsion of the government were also understandable. But obviously, as I said, that the people are so complacent and they don't care, and sometimes even they forget their relatives and dear ones and how they lost, but they just they become so carefree. And of course, besides that, the people also in December, January, February, if you see the people started migrating back to the urban cities from their native places for the labor and work. And then, of course, as I said, the most important one was the mutation UK variant. Irrespective, I always emphasize, and today also I will emphasize, irrespective whether it is a UK variant or now 2 cases of Brazil mutant. Also, somebody, I don't know whether you heard my interview on NDTV in the morning today at 8:30 or not. But these 2 cases, these 2 cases and turning to 2 lakhs will not make much time, like UK variant. So the Brazilian strain has also reached in India, even though the number of cases is only 2, But because they traveled from Brazil and obviously the aeroplane and then from airport, so everywhere they had. So I am really, warning the population that one has to be very careful, because this virus is even more dangerous than the UK variant, and it can escape our immune system. Whether you develop with the natural infection, means after corona infection, or you got the vaccine, it can escape your immune system. So Brazilian or Gamma, WHO has given alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. So our Indian strain previously, which was having the mutation over the UK variant, now is no nomenclature is allowed by name of the country, or like UK variant or Brazilian variant or Indian variant, but still I am using, because probably you may not remember, but basically the UK variant earlier, which was known as alpha, and then South Africa is known as beta, and the Brazilian is known as gamma. And what we know, the double mutant or Indian variant 167.2, that is known as delta variant. So alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. So these are the most important. Then we also have the kappa and other. So these are the new nomenclature. But what I say, that irrespective which mutation it is, whether it is a alpha, beta, gamma, or delta, or kappa, but mask remains the same. Its efficacy will remain the same. And I always say that mask is a social vaccine, and I am happy that because I was on the advisory committee of the Honorable Chief Minister, so he used this word, social vaccine, using the mask, and he very aggressively, Shivraj Singh Chauhan was very aggressive in, reaching to the public, and he controlled in Madhya Pradesh this, corona very effectively. Now, there are, as I said, there are various mutations, and mutations keep on happening. But the question is that, which mutation is surviving and how successful it is in the society. Otherwise, many of the mutations, they will happen, but they will be detrimental to the virus, and the mutant will ban off from the society because they are detrimental to the virus. And therefore, as we know that, alpha, I will say now alpha, so I will not call it UK variant. So alpha, you can say, so alpha variant came throughout the world and so rapidly. And now beta, we are saying this one, and then a gamma. So Brazilian earlier, and now gamma. So that is also there. Now here you can see that it has already traveled, and Europe it has reached, and then now it was not in India, but now 2 cases in India also. So it is a little it's scary. Have to be careful. No place for complacency. And as I said, again, repetition for the same thing of why they are important. As I said, there are various mutations, but most of them, they are not very significant because phenotypically they don't make any difference. There are genotypically mutations are there, but they have various purposes. Sometimes they are detrimental to virus, sometimes they are for the high pathogenicity or high infectivity. And these are some of the mutations which have been noted down by people, but not all are significant. Most of the times, these mutations also occur to adapt the virus into various animals. So like, as I said, that this virus was what we know, the 614 or Chinese or wild type. This was adapted to bats and pangolins. Now, mutations can occur, and then the virus can adapt into various other animals. And then that is also something, worrisome thing that, these animals, if they come into contact, then also they can have the impact on the society. So as again, I am repeating, these are how they help, and the UK variant or the alpha variant is highly infectious, and the gamma variant, which I was just discussing, it is highly pathogenic, and it can also escape our immune system. Then there is another question that, if without vaccine, what will happen if people are not there? So how many chances of getting reinfected? So usually one infection gives protection in up to 84%. So it is almost similar to vaccine. And then, the UK study, they were a large study, and they found that about 7.6% people, they were having risk of getting reinfected if exposed. And therefore, the second wave, which is almost flattened in northern India, but in southern India, still it is there. And therefore, I always feel that the best ways to flatten any wave, whether it is a second wave or if we are not vaccinated, we are bound to have third wave. Also, so the best way is to flatten or to keep the wave slower or flatten is mass masking. Means everybody must wear mask at all costs once you are outside your house. Hand hygiene is very, very important, and physical distance. I don't say social distancing. I never used, and I always use physical distancing because both the things have different connotations. So social distancing, no, but physical distancing, yes. And then, of course, eating behavior. I always say that even if you are eating, you don't know the other person who is eating with you. Eat गांव में जैसे पुराने जमाने में दावत खाते थे. Eat in this, your face should be in the same direction, not face to face. Never eat जो usually गपशप करते हैं हम लोग, आमने सामने बैठ के खाते हैं. That is more dangerous because the exchange of the आपकी जो सांस होगी वो exchange उसका आमने सामने से ज्यादा होगा. So always avoid the face to face और आमने सामने बैठ के खाना नहीं खाइए offices में. Eat if at all. Usually you should not eat together, but you can do. One person can eat in the offices. Now offices are opening, so one person or two persons they can eat first, and then they can put mask, and then other group can eat. So like that, do like that, and then of course avoid large gatherings and vaccine. Most important. So that is very, very important. Coming to the vaccine. So, usually, conventionally, it takes about 10 to 12 years to develop a effective vaccine. But one can say that how come that the vaccine for corona, it was developed in almost 6 months. There are various reasons that most of the vaccines, all efforts were there. So this was the national and international priority. And all governments, they put their efforts, their money into that, and most of the stringent criteria which are used for the clinical trial of the new vaccines, they were relaxed. I would not say that they were not applied, but they were relaxed, and that is the reason that the relaxation was sometimes too much, and that sometimes resulted into the negativity in the vaccine. So if you still go into the rural areas, people, they do not know whether you are talking of the Pfizer vaccine or Moderna vaccine or Covaxin or Covishield vaccine or which vaccine you are talking. But some rumors, people, they were not rumors. In fact, that those were the realities that Covaxin, which is our Indian vaccine, the clinical trial and the vaccination, they were going simultaneously. This was, of course, one can say compulsion. But as a scientist, I would say that the clarity was not there, and because of that, some of the people, those who are not, I would say, those who are away from reality, they made out issue of this, and particularly for political gains. But as a scientist, obviously, I can say that they could have, the things could have been cleared first, they could have published, and then this kind of no apprehensions should have been arised. So that was any case. Now all those are the days. The things are over. All the clinical trial and everything is done, and more than you can see that various vaccines are there. If you see that 7 are already in the use, but totally there are more than 55 vaccines they are in use. And in that, that you can see at number 3, Covaxin was also there. So this lecture was prepared on 1st of January, but now many of these vaccines, they are in use. And so from India, there is only one vaccine. Let me also clarify that many times out of emotions, we say that we are having 2 indigenous vaccines. No, it is not. We are having only Covaxin is the only indigenous vaccine. Covishield is not indigenous vaccine, that is the UK vaccine. We are producing that. So now, obviously, the important issue is that, irrespective which vaccine you are getting, you should get vaccine. That is important. Most of the vaccines, even the Covaxin is also having the protection, 70% protection, and 70% protection when we say, so 70% protection, what we say that, that means that 70% people, they will not get infected, but 30% of the people, they can get infected. But even these 30% of the people, they may not have severe disease, and very few people will die after 2 vaccines. So that is known as actually that these vaccines, they are protecting most of the people, about 97 to 98 people from death. So death protection is very high, even if they are not protected from the infection. They can get infected, they will have mild disease, or they can also transmit to others. But obviously, if now, so these are the vaccines which I'm sure that everybody knows that, except Covaxin, which is normal temperature, which is our indigenous vaccine, which is not mentioned here. This is a killed virus or inactivated virus vaccine. Others are the imported vaccines. The Oxford, which we know by the name of Covishield, 2 injections are given, except Johnson & Johnson, which is yet to come in India. That is the only vaccine which is given single dose, but otherwise all vaccines are given 2 doses, and their protection is usually the 95 or so, both the American vaccines and the Russian vaccine has about 92%, which is now we are using in India, Sputnik vaccine. Our indigenous vaccine, Covaxin, is having about 75% protection, as I said. So then second aspect was, of course, these days, beside the corona has happened, how to protect, how it happens, how to diagnose, what are the various vaccines. And now, a very small part of my discussion would be about the colored fungus, or the fungi. They are known in English. Plural is fungi, fungus is singular. And then in Hindi, what we know, आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कवक या फफूंदी. Usually the old breads, if you leave it in particularly in rainy seasons, your breads will be full of cottony growth, which is usually white in nature in the beginning, and then after a few days it might turn either green, blue, or black. So that is the thing. And then here, this is the the picture which you can see. On the left side, these are the new budding structures of this kavak or papundi or the fungus. And then on the right side, you can see once the sporulation takes place and the fruiting takes place, then these fruits are black in color. And this is the on left bottom. You can see this is the electron microscopy. On the right side, you can see this is how inside the body, when you see the tissue sections, how they will appear. Basically, mucor is a fungus, which is known these days as a black fungus, and the disease it causes is known as mucormycosis. So black fungus is nothing but the mucor, and the mucormycosis is a disease, or black fungus disease, or people keep on saying. This is not a new infection. We know, we have read it, for last 50 years, and for decades this disease is known. Particularly, the infection takes place in the diabetic, uncontrolled diabetes patients, and those who are having organ transplantation or the blood cancer or other type of cancers, or those who are having prolonged steroids. So this year, probably the indiscriminate use or unjustified use of steroids by doctors and by patients themselves, the chemists also, they started giving, and everybody was taking every dose, and even our late K.K. Agarwal also heard saying that सबके घर में सभी बुखार आया तो steroid ले लो. So that kind of, some of our doctors also, they started saying, and that probably this resulted into this kind of havoc. Nevertheless, other than steroid, there are many of the situations we don't know of sure. Of course, diabetes, corona, and steroid. These combination of three things was most important. But we have also seen in some patients, they never had steroid, but still they had. So people are still thinking that probably some of the masks people were not changing, dirty masks people were using, or maybe other theories are coming up. These are the questions we scientists, we are, research projects we are undertaking. My team is also trying to analyze the data, and we will probably very soon publish this kind of studies. But usually the symptoms are, usually this happens that once the patient is recovered from the corona, and often the person is gone back to home, then these symptoms come. So symptoms, they are very important to recognize that in early days the person will have some stuffy nose or something, sursuri jaisi naak mein aane lagegi, and then it is, it takes within 4 or 5 days everything happens. So it is very important, very fast growing virus, fungus. So in nose, you will realize that something is happening, and something abnormal is there. And then if you have not talked to your doctor, then by next day or so, your nose may be swollen, some redness may be there, your eyes may be swollen, maybe one or both, and then within next few days, if you are not covered, then you can see very devastating situation. So it can, the whole thing becomes black, and then obviously the whole palate, तलवा जिसको कहते हैं, तलवे को खा जाती है, and then the all teeth and everything becomes rotten and spoiled or totally gone. And therefore reconstructive surgery sometimes become really difficult. So either eye has to be enucleated, what we call in medical term, to be taken out. So then it becomes very important. Sometimes even the whole nose and mouth has to be sacrificed, the whole face. So that becomes really very difficult, and therefore it is very important that the early diagnosis and early management is there. Fortunately, we have the medicine amphotericin B that is there. So liposomal amphotericin, it is very costly. So the treatment costs about 2 to 2.5 lakhs for a advanced case. But if diagnosed early, then obviously about it can be a little less number of injections are required. And the non-liposomal, which is a cheaper drug, that is also antifungal, but then your kidney are compromised, so kidney may be spoiled. So that is very important. Then you might have heard that there is another, people started saying that white fungus has also come. White fungus is also not a new thing. We were I had to upload one video on YouTube and on television also. I had to come, and several other experts, they had to, because some of our I would say the MBBS level doctors, those who are not qualified, they started saying this kind of, I would say, non-technical, unskilled words that the doctors only started saying. And then media came, media always, they look into, then unnecessary hype created. The white fungus or safed fungus, this is well known. in AIDS patients, these, white, you can see this, white tongue. This is thick like, दूध की मलाई. उस तरह से हो जाता है. So these are the well known. In vaginitis also, it causes in female also. In AIDS patients, this can go onto in the esophagus also. So not only tongue, this can go to whole, oral mucosa can become, cheesy type of spread, and then it can go to esophagus. So this is known for, particularly, this was very, very, about 30 to 40% of the AIDS patients when drugs were not available in 90s, late 90s and early 2000. About 30 to 40% of the AIDS patients, they used to die because of candidiasis. So it is not a new disease, but obviously, it can cause various kind of diseases. It can cause septicemia, also what we call candidemia. So not only it remains limited to the mucosa of the mouth, it can go into the esophagus and then lungs, then blood, then vaginitis, then anal, candidiasis. All kind of candidiasis it can cause. So why probably some of the unqualified doctors, they started saying this white fungus because its colonies are white in nature. So these kind of, if the doctors are not qualified, they sometimes they are dangerous statements and they can create really havoc in the society. And then there are various types, various colors of the fungi. You can see the red fungus, the green fungus, yellow fungus. So all funguses can happen, but this, stupid doctor, I'm sorry to use this kind of word, this Ghaziabad doctor, he created, he's not a qualified doctor, and he said some yellow thing he picked, and then, probably some Googling he did, and then he said, and then there was no yellow fungus, not at all. And this person, all media, because Ghaziabad is very close by, so every media person reached there, and so this kind of, A should be, to create this kind of situation, these doctors also, they should be put behind bars, because if immature and wrong information creating, and we have the disaster rules are also there, so they should be put behind bars to creating this kind of situations. So basically, there is no new virus, no new fungus which has been identified causing any disease. But of course, these are the old fungi, black fungus means mucor. This can be aspergillus also, it can be penicillium also, which are blue color or green color or yellowish color, or the Candida, which are also known. So they can cause, but of course, not many cases of candidiasis came, but surprisingly many cases of mucormycosis came. This is something a little bit, regions to some extent we know, as I said, combination of three, but we don't know for sure because they are equally immunocompromised. We are not seeing many cases of candidiasis. In wrong words, I don't want to repeat white fungus, so candidiasis. But why we are seeing candidiasis also requires severe immunosuppression, the mucormycosis. So both situations are same, but why more mucormycosis, less of candidiasis? That is something we are looking into, and probably this is a research question, but for general public, nothing to worry. There is nothing new except the new variant of the virus. Everything is same, and some of the fungi, they are causing, of course, more infection. And I think there are various color of fungi. They can have infection rarely, and they are known for decades. They are not new, and I think you should be aware about all these fungi and the virus, and therefore you should ask your doctor, because now Director General of Health Services, they have also issued guidelines that indiscriminate use of the steroid, availability of the steroid from the chemist shop, and prescription by a MBBS doctor or non-expert, they all have been stopped. And after that, I hope that the situation of what we call black, white, and that kind of situation, that will also be under control very soon. So I think with that, I would like to thank you all, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Very, very informative lecture, and big hands to you, sir. Really very wonderful lecture and very useful lecture for us.
Thank you.
So there are some questions.
So I can stop the screen, I suppose, then I can see you all.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I think somebody has stopped already, stopped sharing. All right,
So may I audible?
yes, you are.
So there are some questions. Our senior most Dr. Alok Mathur asked that why was second wave more powerful than first wave?
Yeah, as I said that, the mutant was most important, and then, probably the first time people were so scared because it was a new virus. And then, in this January and February, people became complacent, and some of the leaders also said that, we have conquered the corona and corona is gone. So complacency was too much, and, a lot of, religious and rallies, political rallies, on top of that mutant virus. These were the major reasons which I dedicated one slide for that, because the Kumbh Mela and the political rallies, and in addition to the mutation in the virus. These were the three more major.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mathur Saab, are you satisfied?
One more question from the Mathur sir, that can 39 viruses can infect the lungs?
These 39 viruses, they infect, but not of humans. Human viruses are only 3 out of these corona. One, corona SARS, one MERS, MERS, and then third one is SARS-CoV-2. So these 3 viruses, they go to lungs. Other coronaviruses, they are usually pathogenic to animals, and some of the coronaviruses which infect humans, but they remain limited up to the nose. So they usually cause common cold. That's all.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And one more question from the Anirudh Unyal, sir. Should there be any possibility of a lethal third wave of COVID in a scenario where we are already giving 2 million plus doses of the vaccine in a day?
This is a big question, but probably it depends on the government, and I am sure that government is trying its best. So if we can vaccinate within 2 months, about I don't know, which is a Herculean task, but how quickly we can vaccinate our population, that is most crucial. If you keep on vaccinating about 1 lakh or 2 lakh or even up to 10 lakh per day, it is not going to help. We need to vaccinate 1 crore, 90 lakhs to 1 crore population every day. Then only we can help. Then, because then no mutant will emerge, and that will not be causing major disease. But otherwise, if our vaccination is slow, then what will happen? New mutants will emerge, and these vaccines are having, because the new mutants, it will not consider or recognize these antibodies which are raised against the old vaccines. They will be of no use.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. And one more question is that can COVID-19 be caught from a person who has no symptoms?
Yes, it is possible, because as I said, from the vaccinated people and sometimes even unvaccinated people, they can have the virus. They are excreting the virus also, but they are not having symptoms. It depends on their immunity. So their immune system is good enough to protect themselves, but they are not having symptoms, because their immune system, it can be because of natural innate immunity. People are also equally, they can have this kind of situations, but there are some studies that vaccinated people, they will excrete less amount, so they may not be infectious. But yes, theoretically, it is very much possible that many of our healthy people, they will not have symptoms in themselves, but they will excrete the virus. So it is very much possible.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question last. since there is no vaccine for the children at present, so shall they be given vitamin C or Ginkgo regularly, or they should be?
And these actually, the new guidelines, they have also come, these are psychological things, Kara, tea, glory, coronil, all these things, they are of no use.
Yes, sir.
बच्चे को दूध पिलाइए, अंडा खिलाइए, अगर नॉन वेज खाता है तो नॉन वेज खिलाइए, अच्छी प्रोटीन,
Yes,
प्रोटीन इस बच्चों को
Yes.
मीठा कम दीजिए, प्रोटीन दीजिए.
Yes, sir.
That is most important. And hopefully, by next 2 to 3 months, the vaccine for the little younger, not very young children, but adolescents, vaccine is already in the
12 to 18.
pipeline, and that is in the under trial.
Okay, thanks a lot, sir. Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
very much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
और सर मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत स्वागत और अभिनंदन करता हूँ। और सर मुझे इस बात की बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि आप लखनऊ से और उत्तर प्रदेश से। Now I request, चलो तुम वोट ऑफ थैंक्स तुम दे दो।
Okay.
हैं?
I think he sir has left the meeting.
मैं जुड़ जाएंगे तो इंटरनेट खत्म हो गया।
So we can talk now.
जी।
Actually, he is a very
Very busy person.
Very busy person.
So okay, no issue. Dr. Poonam,
Sir, I just like to conclude.
Give the vote of thanks.
Vote of thanks. I, Dr. Poonam Vashni, on behalf of the Joint Secretary, on behalf of the Indian Society of Remote Sensing, Lucknow chapter, I would like to a big thanks to today's speaker, Dr. Saranam Singh, for giving a very informative and useful lecture on a very warm topic, what we should know about COVID-19 and its prevention. I must mention our deep appreciation for his great effort, as he is a very busy schedule. Sir, we are very enlightened with your knowledge. Thanks a lot, sir. I may like to express our sincere thanks to our honorable chief guest and resource person, Sri A.K. Agarwal, sir, Director of AIIMS UP, for giving his valuable time for this lecture. I also wish to express my gratitude to Dr. A.L. Haldar, sir, Chairman of ISRS Society, for providing encouragement to whole team for organizing the activity time to time. I also want to thank Upma Chaturvedi ma'am, Vice Chairman of the Society, for encouraging everyone and always take the active participations in every activity organized by the Society. A very special thanks to Dr. Alok Mathur sir, Dr. Unyal sir, Sangharsh Rao sir, for being a very active members of the ISRS Society, for their motivations and support. I also extend my special thanks to Dr. M.S. Yadav sir, Secretary of the Society, for their guidance and enormous cooperation in the organizing the every event successfully. Last but not the least, I would like to our executive members, life members, scientists, principals, and a lovely audience for their active participation, as without them nothing is possible. And my last thanks to Amit Yadav for giving a technical support. Always he is always ready to here to do the technical supports. With these warm words, kind message, we move to the end of this lecture. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks to everyone. If you want, you can leave.
चलो धन्यवाद। Good.
वो बहुत जल्दी में-
चलिए धन्यवाद। अगली बार फिर से आए सारे लेक्चर में आप लोग को।
जल्दी से दूसरा ये था ना कि वो लोग तो जानते हैं ना कि जो वैसे अगर थे तो बहुत लोग पूछते